Today we're in my front yard garden. This is where, through the spring, summer, and fall, I grow most of my veggies, as well as a wide variety of different botanical art subjects for my paintings. My original audio for this video was very windy and there was a lot of traffic, so I've chosen to do a voiceover for this entire video. However, you may see my lips moving in some of the recorded videos. In today's video, I'm starting a new series where I show you from start to finish some of the steps involved in creating an original botanical art piece. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the initial steps that I take to set myself up for success with a new painting. In particular, I'm going to be sharing with you the sorts of photographs, sketches, and notes that I take when I won't be able to draw from life or paint from life from start to finish on a large project. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lee. I'm a botanical and natural science illustrator based in Kitchener-Waterloo, Canada. On this channel, I share watercolor techniques and tips and some insights into my daily life as an illustrator. If this is content that you're interested in, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that I prefer to paint from life wherever possible. However, this is frequently not possible. When I'm working on client work, I'm often asked to paint a subject that I don't have in front of me, that may not even be in season or available at all where I live. I'll make a different video about how I address some of those challenges, but even when I'm painting a subject that I chose myself that is in season, that I'm growing in my own front yard, I still can't often complete an entire botanical illustration from start to finish, all with my subject directly in front of me. Flowers like this Liatris will change day by day and even hour by hour, so I can't just put up one flower in front of me at my studio, paint it start to finish, and expect that it'll all come together. So instead, I try to get as many references as I can from life. I take three kinds of references. I take notes, I take sketches, and I take photographs. I then take those references back to the studio with me and work from my references in the studio while creating my final illustration. The first thing I try to do while starting any piece is to really get familiar with my subject. I try to pay attention to what makes this particular subject interesting and unique, and try to highlight that in my finished work. In the case of this Liatris, I was drawn to the particularly vertical element, as well as the spiraling structure of the flowers and leaves on this Liatris. I knew I wanted to create a composition that highlighted this strong vertical element, as well as the unique and fun structure of the flower itself. So the very first thing I did was develop a few thumbnail sketches to figure out what size of paper and how I would lay it out on my paper. I've decided to render this as a very tall piece. In order to showcase this strong vertical element, I'll be using a very tall and skinny piece of paper, the entire length of a 30-inch imperial watercolor sheet, but then I'll cut it down sideways to only 12 inches. So this will be a very tall and skinny piece. Next, I wanted to get a more detailed sense of the spiral structure of the buds of the Liatris flower, and also how the leaves are arranged lower down on the main stem. You'll notice here that I'm sketching in pen and that I'm creating a loose but still fairly detailed representation of how these blooms are arranged on the main stem. Next, I wanted to add some notes. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but sometimes the combination of both is the best way to get a concept across. My notes describe some of the rough sketches that I do so that I will remember what the point of these little scribbles was when I'm looking at my sketchbook later. This is also where I take the time to record some extra information, like measurements of my plant, which aren't very clear from just a sketch that's not to scale. I also take notes on things that I noticed about the color or structure of the plant, which again may not come through or be super clear in a sketch or a photograph. I've been sat in one spot sketching and taking notes for a while, so at this point I will get up and take another kind of reference. The next type of reference I use after ink sketches and notes is I photograph my subject, but I don't just take one photograph. I take lots of photos. The reason for this is that, like any translation of a three-dimensional object into a two-dimensional image, photographs will distort and interpret reality. Colors will not appear the same in a photograph as we see them in real life. And information around the edges may be lost in shadow or focus. I take photos of my object in its natural context in my garden. I take up-close photos of the structure. I take different angles. I take different examples of the same sort of plant. And finally, one big trick for you is that I will also get out a white backdrop so that I can photograph my subject without the distractions of the surroundings. I take several of these photos at different heights along the plant. It'll be very easy to assemble these vertically later on my very tall painting, but I don't want to introduce the distortion of a lens by just photographing it further away. The final preparation step that I will take while sketching outdoors in natural light is I will try wherever possible to get some color reference. As I mentioned, photography can distort colors, and my memory isn't always perfect for what colors looked like in real life, so I try to take some notes. Now in this case, I am just in my front yard, so I could drag out whatever materials I wanted from my studio. However, that's not very common when I'm out sketching. Usually I'll just have some small watercolor set like this Core Mini, which comes with a pre-selected set of colors. These aren't necessarily the paints that I will use to paint my final painting. However, I can create approximations of the colors that I see, and by taking notes in my sketchbook about how the different swatches that I'm making differ from what I see and what I would like to convey in my painting, I can give myself a really good foundation for replicating those colors when I go to paint my final piece using all of the paints in my studio. Sometimes I just look at a color and I know right away exactly how I'm going to mix it. This was not the case with these Liatris, which are a fairly light pastel-y sort of, I would describe it as kind of like a cobalt violet color, but they also are very, very vibrant and powerful, and I still haven't quite figured out how to convey that, but I think that these notes that I took will really help me. I hope you enjoyed this short look into my process for creating sketches and documentations that I use for reference in my final botanical art pieces. In upcoming videos, I'll be sharing how I create this Liatris painting from start to finish at various steps in the process. In my next video, I'll be showing you how I supplement these quick outdoor sketches with some more developed studies that I develop in the studio using some references. If that's something that you're interested in, don't forget to hit like and subscribe down below. See you next time. Bye!